Mr. Cook is bringing this up on YouTube, and as soon as that gets done, we'll start the meeting.
Where's that noise? Windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I pulled over. Where's that noise? Windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Let's go ask.
All right, so I think we're ready.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. It is 5:47, and we'll call this special called meeting of the Planning Commission for September 16th to order. Ms. Cowan, did we have proper posting of the meeting?
Yes, we did.
Thank you, ma'am. And will you do a quick roll call?
Okay. Rich McKennerick,
Here.
Malcolm Gorge,
Here.
Derek Pugh,
Here.
Ed Kesser, Marcus Taylor,
Here.
Erica Page,
Here.
and Ernestine Middleton.
Thank you very much. And with that roll call, that constitutes a quorum of the Planning Commission. And again, thank you for being here. Brian, thank you for you and the staff for putting it together. Our agenda is very brief. We have one topic on the agenda, which would be to approve the zoning map amendment for the Bethel-Hanbury Gymnasium, which would be a BAR recommendation to rezone that as a historical site class 1. Brian, do you have anything to add to that? That's a pretty straightforward item from our last regular meeting.
Okay, so I have Mr. McLean here with us. If you want me to kind of jump into that with him, a little bit of the history. Jim McLean from the Board of Architecture Review. If that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim, for joining us.
Don't we need to approve the agenda first?
Brian, do you want us to go ahead and let's go ahead and approve that agenda? That's the only item on the agenda would be the zoning map amendment. And then there's no other business to come before us tonight. And is there any objection to that, or can we adopt that as the agenda?
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as it is, sir.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. And with that, Brian, you can, you and Mr. McLean can briefly talk about the history of Bethel-Hanbury Gymnasium.
Thank you very much. You know, the only slight change we're talking about in this is that there are two classifications that we're asking for approval of the gymnasium and also the site. They're two distinct different locations and areas there. But the school site goes back into the early 1920s. And I don't know of anything that's really represented the heart and soul of Blythewood any more so than the schools and the churches have it over the years and so forth. And essentially, the Bethel School represents the cultural soul of the Afro-American community in Blythewood. And as I was explaining earlier, we probably would have had this under some of the initial designations were given if the historical buildings were made. Most of the buildings at Bethel School have been torn down over the years. The gym is now past the 50-year mark and it is now qualifying, for the designation itself. The school has been a phenomenal school for Blythewood and the community. I would also point out just briefly that the second African-American from the state of South Carolina to attend West Point came from Bethel School. So that goes back, and I think it speaks to the quality of the Mrs. Hanbury and the quality of the school over the years. Blythewood and Bethel School both were members of the inaugural Richmond II district. They included Bethel, Blythewood School, Anna Boyd, and Denstral. So those four schools were the founding members for Richmond School District 2. And I'd like to say that I want to apologize again for the slight scoring error earlier. I think we got that straight. It was typically just a printing error, but it's a very valuable resource for the town of Blythewood and we just need to protect it as best we can. The class 1 designation basically states that the building cannot be torn down without town approval. That's also true with the Blythewood School. And what's different about this a little bit is that this site is obviously owned by Richland County and then obviously a Richland County School District too. But they've been very good in working with the town of Blythewood as far as these protection. I think they recognize the historical value of the buildings and have been a real good asset and source as far as maintaining and protecting these facilities. And I don't think there would be any issue there with the county in that regard.
Jim, one question. When you say it is the building and the site, is it, when you talk about the site, is that the property which the gymnasium sits on, or is that the property that the school proper sits on right now?
It's all basically all together, but the original Bethel school site was directly behind Bethel Church. Then they came in and obviously they did the horseshoe around, so it was a distinct property along those lines. They added about 20 acres, I think, in the 1950s. So it was several different land purchases involved as far as the site itself is concerned. Richland County is also preparing a plaque, Richland County plaque for the building, and it will include both of those designations for the building and the site.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Jim?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, just briefly for the record, this is a zoning map amendment as will be added to the official zoning map for the town. Again, we're talking about the Bethel Hanbury Gymnasium being and site being a class 1 historic designation. It's 125 Boney Road, tax map 15200-02-24. Today you would make a recommendation, if it be your will, that goes forward to council. The council meeting will be a public hearing and it will be on September 28th. It's scheduled for currently. Just wanted to throw that in for the record, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that also speaks to the reason of the special called meeting. We did not want to disrupt or slow down the planning commission or the town council's agenda as far as this goes, or Richland 2 making a presentation. So again, thank you for everybody taking time out of your night to be on this call. Questions for Brian or Mr. McLean, either one? If there are no questions, it's pretty straightforward. We could entertain a motion to adopt the draft amendment as Brian just discussed it.
Well, I tabled the motion before. I don't know where that leaves it, but I'll certainly say it again that I believe we need to make a full recommendation to council that the Bethel Hanbury Gymnasium is rezoned as a class 1 historic building and the accompanying site to go with it.
I
Thank
second
you,
that.
Malcolm, for that motion. And Marcus, I believe you just seconded that.
Yes, sir. I did. I concur.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye or give a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And Mr. Larry Griffith, thank you. I see you down there joining the meeting. Appreciate you being on the Zoom call as well. And Brian, I think that clears the way to go ahead and get this before town council on their agenda on the 28th and look forward to watching it evolve from there.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and I don't have anybody that's emailed me any questions. I know citizen comments that I have received, so we should be good to go for the 28th of September.
Okay, and with that, that concludes the action items we had on the agenda. And unless there's any other comments, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.